Promulgation of Universal Peace by Abdul Baha Abbas. The animal cannot do this. Well, this vehicle us humans are in is still in the animal kingdom. I don't know why people are so insulted about that, but man perceives the mirage to be an illusion. This is beyond the power of the animal. The animal can only know the sense impressions and cannot grasp intellectual realities. The animal cannot conceive of the power of thought. This is an abstract intellectual matter and is not limited to the senses. Well, other primates have tool-making capabilities. The animal is incapable of knowing that the earth is round, and brief, abstract intellectual phenomena are human powers. All creation below the kingdom of man is the captive in nature. It cannot deviate in the slightest degree from nature's laws. Neither can anybody else. If we try to do something unnatural, we get punished for it, per se, by nature itself, But man wrests the sword of dominion from nature's hand and uses it upon nature's head. For example, it is a natural exigency that man should be a dweller upon the earth, but the power of the human spirit transcends this limitation, and he soars aloft in airplanes. This is contrary to the law and requirement of nature. He sails at high speed upon the ocean and dives beneath its surface in submarines. He imprisons the human voice in a phonograph and communicates in the twinkling of an eye from east to west. These are things we know to be contrary to the limitations of natural law. Man transcends nature, while the mineral, vegetable, and animal are helplessly subject to it. This can be done only through the power of the spirit, because the spirit is the reality. In the physical powers and senses, however, man and animal are partners. In fact, the animal is often superior to man in sense perception. For instance, the vision of some animals is exceedingly keen, and hearing of others most acute. Consider the instinct of a dog, how much greater than that of man. But although the animal shares with man all the physical virtues and senses, a spiritual power has been bestowed upon man, of which the animal is devoid. This is a proof that there is something in man above and beyond endowment of the animal, a faculty and virtue peculiar to the human kingdom, of which is lacking in the lower kingdoms of existence. This is the spirit of man. All these wonderful human accomplishments are due to the efficacy and penetrating power of the spirit of man. If man were bereft of this spirit, none of these accomplishments would have been made possible. This is as evident as the sun at midday. All the organisms of material creation are limited to an image or form. That is to say, each created material being is possessed of a form. It cannot possess two forms at the same time. For example, a body may be spherical, triangular, or square, but it is impossible for it to be two of these shapes simultaneously. Well, some parts are more one than the other. It may be triangular, but if it is to become square, it must first rid itself of the triangular shape. It is absolutely impossible for it to be both at the same time. Therefore, it is evident in the reality of material organisms that different forms cannot be simultaneously possessed. In the spiritual reality of man, however, all geometrical figures can be simultaneously conceived, while in physical realities one image must be forsaken in order that another may be possible. This is the law of change and transformation, and change and transformation are precursors of morality. Were it not for this change in form, phenomena would be immortal. Did I say morality or mortality? I meant mortality. But because the phenomenal existence is subject to transformation, it is mortal. The reality of man, however, is possessed of all virtues. It is not necessary for him to give up one image for another, as physical bodies do. Therefore, in that reality, there is no change or transformation. It is immortal and everlasting. The body of man may be in America, while his spirit is laboring and working in the Far East, discovering, organizing, and planning. While occupied in governing, making laws, and erecting a building in Russia, his body is still here in America. What is this power which, notwithstanding that it is embodied in America, is operating at the same time in the Orient, organizing, destroying, upbuilding? It is the spirit of man. This is irrefutable. When you wish to reflect upon or consider a matter, you consult something within you. You say, shall I do it, or shall I not do it? It is better to make this journey or abandon it. Whom do you consult? Who is within you deciding this question? Surely there is a distinct power, an intelligent ego. You know, ego is the mental construction of consciousness. People go, oh, you got to kill your ego, and no, you can't do it. It's impossible to, just like, you got to destroy your chakras, and no. Were it not distinct from your ego, you would not be consulting it. It is greater than the faculty of thought. It is your spirit which teaches you, which advises and decides upon matters. Who is it that interrogates? Who is it that answers? There is no doubt that it is the spirit, and there is no change or transformation in it, for it is not a composition of elements, and anything that is not composed of elements is eternal. Change and transformation are peculiarities of composition. There is no change and transformation in the spirit. In proof of this, the body may become weakened in its members. It may be dismembered, or one of its members may be incapacitated. The whole body may be paralyzed, and yet the mind, the spirit, remains ever the same. The mind decides, the thought is perfect, and yet the hand is withered. The feet have become useless, the spinal column is paralyzed, and there is no muscular movement at all. But the spirit is in the same status. Dismember a healthy man, the spirit is not dismembered. Amputate his feet, his spirit is there. He may become lame. The spirit is not affected. The spirit is ever the same. No change or transformation can you perceive. It is because there is no change or transformation. It is everlasting and permanent. Consider man while in the state of sleep. It is evident that all his parts and members are at a standstill, are functionless. His eye does not see, his ear does not hear, his feet and hands are motionless, but nevertheless he does not see in the world of dreams. He does see in the world of dreams, he does hear, he speaks, he walks, he may even fly in an airplane. Therefore, it becomes evident that, though the body be dead, yet the spirit is alive and permanent. Nay, the perceptions may be keener when man's body is asleep. The flight may be higher, the hearing may be more acute. All the functions are there, and yet the body is at a standstill. Hence, it is proof that there is a spirit in the man, and in this spirit there is no distinction as to whether the body be asleep or absolutely dead and dependent. The spirit is not incapacitated by these conditions. It is not bereft of its existence. It is not bereft of its perfections. The proofs are many, innumerable. So the difference between the jiva and the atman would be an important thing to consider. These are all rational proofs. Nobody can refute them. As we have shown, there is a spirit and that the spirit is permanent and everlasting. We must strive to learn of it. May you become informed of its power, hasten to render it divine, and to have it become sanctified and holy, and to make it the very light of the world, illuminating the east and west. So be thou little Lucifers, as one would call it, lux epheros, light, illuminating, but here, of course, in the context of the state of absolute righteousness, as it would be called in my typical lingo of undefiled knowledge. Anyways, July 25th, 1912, talk at Hotel Victoria, Boston, Massachusetts. Notes by Edna McKinney. I'm happy to greet you here today. This is the second time the breeze of God has wafted over Boston. I am expecting results from this visit and hope that my coming may not be fruitless. The results I expect are these: that the individual soul shall be realized from self and desire and freed from the bondage of satanic suggestions. May the mirrors of hearts be cleansed from dust in order that the sun of truth may be reflected therein. Man possesses two kinds of susceptibilities: the natural emotions, which are like dust upon the mirror, and spiritual susceptibilities, which are merciful and heavenly characteristics. There is a power which purifies the mirror from dust and transforms its reflection into intense brilliancy and radiance, so that spiritual susceptibilities may chasten the hearts and heavenly bestowals sanctify them. What is the dust which obscures the mirror? It is attachment to the world. Avarice, envy, love of luxury and comfort, haughtiness and self-desire. This is the dust which prevents reflection of the rays of the sun of reality in the mirror. The natural emotions are blameworthy and are like rust which deprives the heart of the bounties of God. But sincerity, justice, humility, severance, and love for the believers of God will purify the mirror and make it radiant with reflected rays from the sun of truth. It is my hope that you may consider this matter, that you may search out your own imperfections and not think of the imperfections of anyone else. Strive with all your power to be free from imperfections. Heedless souls are always seeking faults in others. What can the hypocrite know of others' faults when he is blind to his own? This is the meaning of the words in the Seven Valleys. It is a guide for human conduct. As long as a man does not find his own faults, he can never become perfect. Nothing is more fruitful for a man than the knowledge of his own shortcomings. The Blessed Perfection says, I wonder at the man who does not find his own imperfections.